Oh, it's so bad. War. Has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. Fuck this game, man. That was rough. That impression was recorded on a webcam. It was the webcam I used as my microphone when I first started off YouTube. That's why there's no face cam, because I had to choose between face cam or voice. So it was like I had the webcam like lodged in here, and I would just talk into it as a microphone, and that was like me sitting at my laptop just with a webcam in my front of my face going, "War has changed." And then I became a big YouTuber.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all,
So, that concludes our photo shoot. I hope you all got some good snaps. But now, it's time to actually start off the show. What do you guys say? Okay, that's a firm no. So, I said it was going to be a journey through my life, a story from my beginning. So let's go all the way back to the very beginning.
Millions and millions of years ago, the universe was formed.
I'm just joking. 28 years ago, I burst forth into the universe. It was a different kind of Big Bang. A different celebration of life, but just as messy. And I was born into a pretty big family. There's 7 people in my family. So I have my parents, I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, which means I'm the baby of the family. Are there any other babies of the family here? Oh, my people, solidarity. Oh, you know exactly what it's like to be the baby of the family, right? You can cry and get anything you want. Your brother or sister do anything to you and you just say, buy me a PlayStation! Worked every time. But being the baby of the family, you also know that it's the worst thing in the world, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're sitting at the kitchen table eating your cornflakes. Your brother or sister look at you wrong, you know what you're getting? Bins! A punch in the back of the head for doing nothing. It's fine, I got a PlayStation out of it. But where I grew up in a very, very small town in Ireland, in a place called Clohan. Yeah, exactly. Nobody ever reacts when I talk about Clohan. You know why? Because it sounds weird, doesn't it? It sounds a little strange, Clohan. It's like the sound an old man makes when he sneezes. Oh, no, sorry. I thought my arse was going to come out to my nose. Jesus. But, since you're all going to be honorary Irish people with me here tonight, you can all try and pronounce it with me. Say it with me. Clohan. God bless you. In the town of Clohan, because it was so small, there was only 600 people in the entire town. That's less than the amount of people who are in this entire room right now. So, really, really small town. And because of that, everybody in town kind of knew everyone. Everyone knew each other's faces, you saw each other all the time. So each weekend, in my house, in the kitchen, 20 drunk Irish people would show up. All sitting around, all hammered, and I was sitting in the middle of them, 10 years old, going, this is great. Everyone here is best friends. They weren't, they were just shit-faced. And because I was the smallest, 10 years old, I was teeny tiny when I was a small lad, and everyone used to always try and make fun of me. They'd come up to me, really drunk, going, how are you, Shawnee? fierce fucking small, aren't you? And I'd stand there going, bitch! I was quick, I was fast, I knew how to get back at them. And I think that was the first time I ever remember making an entire room of people laugh. I wanted more. And in the town where I grew up, in Clohan, very, very religious town, as most places were back then, Ireland being a very religious country. And every weekend we would go to Mass. We would go to church. Every Saturday night, my family and half the town would go to church. The next morning on Sunday, the rest of the town would go to church. So at least once a weekend, the entire town saw God. And being 10 years old, going to church, you know, you kind of get a little bit bored of it. You get a little, your brain turns off. You're not really listening to what's going on. It's not real magic, no matter what your parents tell you. So I decided, I'm going to spice things up a bit. I decided, when I'm going to church from now on, I'm going to become an altar boy. Oh, no, it's not that type of story. Jesus. You need to pay a lot more money to see that show. But in church, I bring this up because that's when I had my most embarrassing experience of my entire life. 10 years old, I started quick. In church one night, I'll picture a little picture of what it was like. So, this is the priest. Very short priest. Me and my best friend would be kneeling at the edge of the altar, waiting for our cue, waiting for things to happen, and two of my other friends would be on the other side. And we'd just keep our head down, focusing on the ground, looking at my knees, and the priest would be up, you know, doing his thing, talking to God. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Mad respect. We'd be kneeling down. And every communion, as the priest was doing his thing, the collection plates would go around. You know, to collect some money, to keep the lights on, to keep God happy. Now, I've seen this done a million times. I knew exactly what had to happen. I knew exactly where the collection plates were. They were always over in this area, on the baptismal font, kind of where these people are. Hi. Baptismal font doesn't fucking wave. Stay in character. So the priest was doing his thing, and he gave me the nod to get the collection plates. You got this, my child. Got you, fam? Oh, shit. They're not there. Where did they go? My friends didn't care. My friend was over kneeling down going... And I stood there, frozen in fear with everybody looking at me. And because the town was small, and because we all knew each other, I could kind of hear what they were saying. I could feel what they were thinking. Ah, that McLaughlin young lad. Not the brightest, is he? And as I stood there, frozen in fear with all eyes on me, kind of like you're all doing right now. Okay, childhood memories, repress them, move on. All of a sudden, my sister's husband's father, that's right, he came out of one of the chairs and he came up to the front with the collection plate in his hand. Now, I have no idea where he got these. He must have pulled them out of his arse. He came up to the altar and handed them to me. I gave them back to him. And he went around and collected all the money. And do you know what his name was? Jimmy Christie. J. Christie. Jesus Christ himself came down to help. Good looking out, G-Man. But as religious as Ireland was, and as lovely as that experience was, Clohan also had a dark side. It had a seedy underbelly. In Clohan, the biggest night of the year, every year, as it probably is in most places in the world, was New Year's Eve. And in Clohan, we had a bit of a ritual. We would take two pitchforks, And people would stand next to each other on a roundabout. You know what a roundabout is? Yeah. Okay, some of you were with me for now. The roundabout in Clopin was called the Square. Yeah, I have no idea why either. This is something you realise as the night goes on. Irish people make no sense. On this square, there were 5 roads. And the joke about Clopin was, the best thing about it was the 5 roads that took you away from the town. So we would take, 2 guys with these pitchforks would stand there, and they would take sods of turf. Do you know what turf is? Okay, turf is what you dig out of the bog to burn in your fire for winter. Oh. Yeah, you didn't fucking know, did you? So you take these sods of turf and put them on the pitchforks. And then light them on fire. 2 lads standing there with flaming pitchforks. 1 guy next to him playing a fiddle. Jesus Christ was back playing the accordion. And the entire town of Clopin would line up behind them, singing songs and walking down each of these 5 roads. Now, I used to think this was normal. Until we started writing material for this show and I thought, wait, hold on. How batshit crazy must that have looked? If you were driving through the small town of Clopin that night and you saw 600 people all standing around a roundabout they called the Square, with flaming pitchforks in hand, singing songs, hands held together like they're about to summon the fucking Antichrist out of the ground. Oh, Clopin, never change. Actually, dude, that's fucking weird. But as much shit as I give Clopin all the time, I also had my childhood there, and I had a fantastic childhood. My entire time growing up there was wonderful, because each day I would come home from school, and at the end of our field, in our backyard, I had a tree. And I love this tree. I would have married this tree if I could. I checked, it's not legal. And on this tree, the reason I loved it so much is because I had a rope on, and I threw it up as high as I could get it to go, and I would swing back and forth all day, every day. I thought I was Spider-Man. I still do. And one day, as I was swinging back and forth, happy-go-lucky me, Jesus Christ comes back in the field. And like an Irish Crocodile Dundee, he comes up to my tree and goes, "That's not a rope." And then he left. I was standing there with my feeble, limp little rope in my hand, 10 years old, going, "The fuck is this part?" I was having a great time. 10 minutes later, he comes back up the field with this big, giant boat rope that was bigger than me. Damn, she's thick! And he threw it up over the highest branch on the entire tree, and I swung like I never swung before. I'm surprised I wasn't killed. But on this very same tree where I had my rope, we also had our childhood treehouse. Well, I say it was ours. I kind of stole it. Me and my 2 best friends, Pádraig and Sean, another one. It's Ireland. There's a lot of Seans. You'll hear a lot more of them, I promise. But in this treehouse, every single evening after school, we would play video games. We would play on our Game Boys. Do you remember Game Boy? Oh, man. I absolutely loved my Game Boy. It was the first day Pádraig came down the field looking a little different than normal. A little cockier than he normally was. Walking like... And he came into the treehouse, and out of his back pocket, he pulls out Pokemon Red. Oh, we didn't like that. Oh, no, no, no. I said to myself, who does this smug douchebag and a 10-year-old think he is? Coming into my treehouse showing off his games.
Of course I didn't say that. I said, oh gee, best friend, that's great. I'm so fucking happy for you. Yeah, you have Pokemon Red? That's cool. I have Pokemon Blue. I didn't. I just lied to my best friend to look cool. I said, oh yeah, I have Pokemon Blue. It's just in China right now. Yeah. I should mention that my mother was in China at the time, so I told my best friend that she had gotten it for me, lying to his face. 2 weeks later, my mother comes back from China, and out of her back pocket, she pulls out Pokemon Blue. I cried. I was 10, I didn't know what my emotions were yet. I had just lied to my best friend, so I did what anybody should do. I went back down to the treehouse, and I went up to him and I said, aha! I told you I had it was just in fucking China all this time. But since Pokemon Blue was the first game I ever remember playing, and being on my Game Boy being the first system that I ever remember playing, I thought it'd be fun if one of you came up on stage to play Pokemon with me. Okay, alright, let's see what we can get cooking. Okay, so, my good buddy Vernon here, he's going to go down into the crowd, and he's going to pick somebody out to play Pokemon. So if you want to play, put your hands in the air. Wave them like you care. There's some dark times in this stage of life. How many teenagers are here? Okay, settle down, teenagers. It's not all about you. Okay. So, just like in my life, I went on to my teenage years. I went on to secondary school, or high school, middle school, that time of your life. And in secondary school, that's when the Jacksepticeye name was born. Because in school, I had a friend named Paul. Paul was great, Paul was grand. Thanks, Paul. But Paul found out that my mother called me Jack. Because for some reason, Sean and Jack go together. Because Sean is Irish for John, and John and Jack go together. Yeah, I told you Irish people make no sense. But when he found out that my mother called me Jack, he decided he's going to call me Jack. Because that made me some sort of mama's boy. He would meet me at school every morning, coming in the gate being like, how's it going? Jack? Fucking good one, Paul. And, okay, how many of you know the story of how the Jacksepticeye name came about? Okay, so, for the 10 of you who don't know it, I'm gonna tell the story anyway. It's a great story, beautiful story. People are going to be singing songs about it for years. One day on the playground in my school, we were out playing football, and the ball came towards me, and it was a beautiful day. Sun beaming in the sky. It wasn't. All the teachers and all the classmates came out to watch us boys play football. They didn't. The fuck? The ball came towards me, shot itself up into the air, and me, being a spry young teenager, saw gold in my eyes. I was ready to go for it. So I launched myself into the air after it. That's also when the Irish space program was born. As I went up into the air, my 14-year-old muscles bristling under my shirt, testosterone fueling my body, my long blonde hair flowing in the wind. Higher and higher I went into the air. Slow motion kicked in and I winked at all the girls on the sideline. But somebody else joined me in space that day. Somebody else had a different idea. Now I should point out that this person was wearing a pair of glasses. And I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure that mass times acceleration plus really sharp pair of glasses to my eye equals really fucking bad. Our heads collided. My face exploded.
Red went everywhere like a human jam donut. Coming down my face, streaking half my vision like a pair of old shitty 3D glasses. Some people on the sidelines gasped. Some people cried. The older kids on the sidelines said, "What the fuck is that again?" I hit the ground with a murderous thud. No, participation section is over. Shut up. I was carted off into the nurses' station. Well, we didn't have a nurses' station. We had a teacher's room with one Band-Aid in it. But that was deemed good enough for me. As the teacher bandaged up my face, and I was sent home because I was too scary for the other kids to look at. My war wound had healed slightly, so after 2 weeks I was deemed necessary to come back to school. But it didn't heal fully. There was this gross green infected lump over my eye. Well, yeah. I'd be worried if you all went, "Ooh, yum!" I came back to school and Paul decided he's going to take the Jack name further. He's going to take it and call me Jack Septic Eye. Oh, he thought it was great. He thought it was hilarious to extend the Mama's Boy name further. He tried to get all my friends and all my teachers to call me Jack Septic Eye. Who's laughing now, Paul? Paul, I hope you're doing well. I don't know why I looked up. He's not dead. But after this had passed, I decided I'm going to do what most teenagers do at this age. I'm going to start a band. Oh yeah, I thought me, alone, I'm going to be the next Linkin Park. So I picked up guitar. I started playing guitar first because I wanted to be that guy. You know him, you love him. You know that one guy with an acoustic guitar at the party? You know, sitting next to a campfire with his back up against a tree, talking about his feelings. Singing, "I care about my feelings, 'cause I play guitar." Oh, you know him, good. Yeah, oh, I wanted to be that douchebag. But I'm not very musically gifted. And I have the attention span of a fucking spoon. Playing guitar was also the first time I realized just how many fingers are on the human hand. I felt like I was drunk every time I played it. So thankfully, drums were a perfect fit for me. And here's the funny thing. The first time I ever heard drums was when I was a kid, because my oldest brother Malcolm would play the drums every evening in our house. And here's the ironic part. I thought they were too loud. I know. But each time I would come home from school, I would be coming home from primary school, and our school was not that far from my house, so even before I left school, I could hear my brother playing drums in the distance. From school, you just hear... Louder and louder it got as I got closer to home, like an orc army going to war. And as I walked past the bedroom window, there was my brother, more hair than man, playing drums like Animal from the Muppets, like... He thought he was making sweet, sweet music. All I could think was, oh, sweet Jesus, move out already. But it wasn't until I was older, when I was watching MTV. You remember when MTV actually played music videos? Yeah! Oh, only 90s kids remember. I was watching MTV with my friend again, Porg, who you remember from the Pokemon story. Yeah, fuck that guy. We were watching MTV, and on the TV at the time came Green Day. And Green Day DJ's song of choice at that moment, the song that was playing absolutely everywhere all the time, was Wake Me Up When September Ends. And listening to this song with my friend, I could already kind of hear the drums in my head. I didn't need to be able to play the drums. I'd never sat down at the drums properly before, but I could already play it, sort of. So I went into my bedroom and I practiced on my legs, like... Man, was I sexy. So I decided to save up some money. I didn't save up a whole lot. I bought a really crappy set of drums, but it didn't matter, because they were mine. And I put them out into the shed and I played those big bad bongos all day, every day. So my friend Porrig, again, decided he wanted to play some music with me. So he wanted to pick up guitar too. But, just like me, he's not very musically gifted either. So he picked up the simple man's guitar, which is bass guitar. Oh, somebody didn't like that. I'm just a fucking drummer, dude. What do I know? So, we took our instruments and we went out into the shed and we banged all day. Oh. And played Green Day songs all day. Let's put it that way. Well, we thought we were playing Green Day songs, much to the disappointment of our neighbours. Didn't really sound like music. Just sounded like someone swinging a bag of cats against the wall. But it was during this point in my life that it took the biggest change that it had ever taken before. And my family decided we were going to move. So we ended up moving to a place called Ballycumber, to a log cabin in the middle of the woods. Now, just like Cloughan before, you're probably not going to know a whole lot about Ballycumber, which is fine. Let me just tell you this. Ballycumber's where old people go to die. So as a 19-year-old, not the best place to be. And I had been going to college for 2 years at this point. I was going for music production because I just loved playing drums and doing music so much. But when I was in college, that was when I realized that I just wasn't really able to keep up with anything anymore. When I was in college, I wasn't able to do the course the same way the rest of my classmates were. Everyone else would get the projects and they would be able to pick them up immediately. They would know exactly what they were doing. They would be so enthusiastic about doing it. Everyone else could already do the music theory, they already knew exactly what was going on, they helped each other out all the time. But I was completely lost. I had no idea what I was doing, anybody else for help, because it was just too embarrassing for me. So I ended up leaving college after 2 years. I finished my exams and I just went back to the log cabins and I didn't go back for my third year. And I completely lost myself. I had no idea who I was anymore. I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought that I was going to start off in a small town, go to a slightly bigger town for school, then start playing drums, go to college, become a big success, move to a city or something like that. But none of these things happened for me. All my goals and aspirations that I thought were supposed to happen just went nowhere. And I became very heavily depressed. I had no friends around me. I had left all of my friends back in Cloughan where I grew up. And all I had to spare my time was drums and video games. And I didn't even want to play those half the time because I was just so miserable. I had no idea what I was going to do. Luckily, at this point, my family decided to get the internet in the log cabins, and I looked into a website called YouTube. Now, I didn't start off doing YouTube as a job. I didn't even think that that was a thing you could do when I had found YouTube. What I ended up doing was, I was playing a lot of Battlefield 3, and... big BF3 fans in the audience. And I ended up looking up other Let's Players on how to play the game, because I was okay at it, I knew what I was doing, I knew the maps and everything, but I wanted to get better. So I came across a YouTuber called Level Cap Gaming. And it was amazing, because I had known nothing about YouTube at the time, but here was this guy in his bedroom playing so many video games, and everybody came out to watch him play. Everyone who liked Battlefield 3 would come to his channel and watch him play the game as well. And I finally felt like I had a place where I belonged. A place where I felt welcome, felt safe, A place where people shared the same kind of thoughts that I did, who loved video games as much as I did. Because none of my real life friends ever liked them as much as I did. And I thought, you know what? I want to do that. I want to start that. I want to do that for other people. I took the Jacksepticeye name and I made a channel and I started off making some really silly videos at first, but it didn't matter because I just wanted to do it. I wanted to create a community for people who were like me, because nobody knew what it felt like more than I did at that time. To feel like a failure, to feel like an outcast, to feel like you had nowhere to go, nowhere to share your own thoughts with, or people who were like-minded like you were. So I wanted to do that for other people, to give you guys a safe place, a place where you could come and just hang out and have fun, and it didn't really matter what the rest of the world was doing. But before I had started any of my YouTube stuff, there was one game that stood out to me in my teenage years that meant so much to me, because I was overcoming this huge life obstacle, the biggest one that it had ever thrown at me before. Life got very, very hard for me, and I was doing it in complete isolation, away from any of my friends, and I had no idea how to overcome it. And that game became my favorite game of all time, which is Shadow of the Colossus. So, like before, I thought it'd be fun if one of you came on stage to play Shadow of the Colossus with me. Okay, thank you. Oh, look at it. Look how beautiful. Wow. Alright, so, before Vernon goes on to pick out anybody, we're going to have to set a bit of a ground rule on this one, okay? So, since this is my favorite game of all time, and I love it so dearly, I also know how fucking broken this game is, okay? So we're going to need somebody who kind of knows how to play the game already. Because if you don't know how to play this game already, we're going to be here all night trying to teach you. Okay, thankfully, there's still some hands in the air. Oh man, this is tricky. This is going to be tough. Okay, here we go, come on out. But in my adult years, when I went back to college, I was also trying to do YouTube at the same time. I was using the Jacksepticeye name, and I was trying to make 2 videos every single day. Even back near the very, very beginning, I was trying to do 2 videos at the same time every day, like I had always done. And it was really difficult, because juggling college and something like that at the same time is really hard. I wanted to take college seriously this time. I didn't want to fail, I didn't want to drop out again, and I wanted to finish it. And I would come home every evening at like 5 or 6 p.m. and I would sit down in my little YouTube command center and make my videos. I would try and get 2 done, and I would edit them and render them down, and then I would have to upload them overnight, because we must have had the internet plugged into a tree outside. It was so slow. I would still go to college the next morning, still not uploaded. I would go to the computer room during the middle of classes and just be like, oh, thank God. Shitty Let's Play number 4 went up. But during this time of my life, when I was trying to do YouTube a lot, and it was going places, it actually started to take off. After about a 1.5 years, the channel raised 2,500 subscribers. And this was wonderful to me, because I had never started off trying to get like super big on YouTube or anything like that. I just wanted to create videos and wanted anybody to watch them. But here these people actually did. It actually worked. People were actually watching what I uploaded. And I would get like 10 comments per video, and some people would show up every now and then, the same people, and I'd start recognizing faces and chat to them every now and then, and it was great. One day, I came home from college, and someone decided to explode everything. That person, of course, being PewDiePie. Felix had been holding a shout-out competition on his channel, and some people in my comments were saying, dude, why don't you throw your name in? You've got nothing to lose. But they were absolutely right. I didn't know this was going on, and I was thankful that they brought it to my attention, because I thought, I'll just throw it in, see what happens. There's nothing I can lose, here's a cool opportunity. And then when I came home from college one day, instead of 2,500 subscribers, it said 15,000 subscribers. And I sat at my desk and thought, oh shit, they found me. Now, people People subscribing to your channel is great. It boosts the channel forward, it motivates you, it's good for your self-esteem. But for some reason, I was convinced I was going to jail. And I went into the comments to try and figure out what was going on. And some people were saying, dude, bro, guy, man, you want a PewDiePie shout-out? I flipped my ass, as you would. I made a video thanking Felix for everything because this was a huge opportunity. Not many people were shouted out in this video, and I was extremely grateful for it. So I made a little video thanking him for it, and after about 2 days, the channel went from 15,000 subscribers to 20,000 subscribers. But then it completely stopped. Because at this time, and the thing with these shout-out competitions that people don't realize is that you really have to work hard when any of these things happen. A lot of people think that if you get a shout-out from a large channel that it's going to boost you to millions of subscribers overnight and you're just going to become a success and move on and do the big YouTuber thing. But that's not what happens. You still have to take any opportunity that comes your way and work hard with it. And at this time, I wasn't doing that. I was kind of doing the YouTuber walk. You know, doing the same things that everybody else was doing. Because I thought you had to do these specific things to become a big gaming YouTuber. And with anything like that, you kind of imitate before you innovate. You kind of take on the stuff from your inspirations before you find your own voice. So I sat down and I decided to change things up because during this period on the channel, I was doing 2 Grand Theft Auto 5 videos every single day for like 2.5 weeks. They were terrible. People watch them now, but at that time, not many people were. The people who came from the shout-out, some of them had stayed around, some of them were interested, but a lot of people had left. A lot of people just weren't watching the stuff that I was uploading, and it was just these numbers on a channel somewhere. So I decided, I'm going to change things up. I'm going to become more of who I am, I'm going to work very hard, much harder than I already was, and I'm going to try and see what happens. So I started doing the whole top of the morning thing, and I became more of myself. I started to actually talk in my own voice for the first time and settle into the natural, bubbly, energetic version of myself that I actually was, that I was too afraid to show people before. And that's when stuff really started to take off. The channel went from 20,000 subscribers to 50,000 subscribers. And I remember this moment very vividly, this milestone vividly, because that was the first time I had ever met anyone from the channel in real life. I was going through a grocery store in Ireland called Tesco. Yeah, I know. And 2 boys had come up to me. They tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Are you Jacksepticeye?" And I thought, oh shit! They found me again. And I was standing in Tesco with a basket of groceries in my hand that was just baked beans and instant noodles. You know, the food of champions. Yeah, the college people know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't worry, college people, you will eat real food again someday. So I took some pictures with them, signed some stuff, and we went about our day. But the reason that this was so important to me was I was trying to build this community. I was trying to build this channel. And I didn't realize that that community was already there. 50,000 people on a channel is a lot of people. But I just hadn't met any of you yet to really quantify what that meant. So after I met these boys, it gave me the biggest boost of motivation I have ever had in my entire life. I went home, I worked on YouTube harder than I ever have before. I worked 9 to 12 hours a day, every single day, no breaks, no weekends. I would upload 2 videos at the exact same time every day because I loved it. It was something that was mine, it was something that I was passionate about, that I finally had something in my grasp that I felt like I was actually good at, and that I could keep it going and I could entertain people. And that's when stuff really started cooking. That's when the channel started getting 1 million subscribers every 2 months. I have no idea how, when, why, or who. You're all fucking crazy. But I was extremely grateful for it. This community was just getting so much bigger, and I was trying not to think about the numbers because that stuff gets very, very scary.